A woman once photographed beside billionaires, royalty, and presidents now wakes up inside a federal prison camp in Texas. That contrast alone feels almost surreal. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted in connection with one of the most notorious criminal scandals in modern history, tied directly to Jeffrey Epstein. For many people, the story should have ended there. Trial, verdict, sentence, 20 years, case closed. But it didn't. Instead, a different narrative began to circulate. Rumors started spreading that her life behind bars did not resemble the harsh punishment the public imagined. Some claimed her environment was cleaner, calmer, even protective. Others suggested the facility itself raised questions. Why that prison? Why that level of security? And why did information about her daily routine feel so tightly controlled? In high-profile cases, perception matters almost as much as fact. When expectations collide with reality, suspicion fills the gap. The public expected a dramatic fall from privilege into severity. What they saw instead appeared quieter, more restrained, almost muted. And that dissonance became the spark. Because when a figure at the center of global outrage seems to fade into a controlled silence rather than chaos, people begin to wonder whether what's happening is simple procedure or something more deliberate.
Long before the courtroom verdict, Maxwell moved comfortably with elite social circles. As the daughter of media tycoon Robert Maxwell, she grew up around influence and power. In the 1990s, her close partnership with Epstein placed her inside an orbit that spanned Wall Street, academia, and political circles. Over time, allegations surfaced that she had played a central role in recruiting and grooming underage girls for Epstein. In 2021, a federal jury found her guilty on multiple counts related to trafficking minors. The sentence that followed, 20 years in federal prison, was presented as accountability after years of scrutiny and anger. Initially housed in a federal facility in Florida, she was later transferred to a minimum security prison camp in Texas. Technically, such transfers can occur for administrative or safety reasons, but to the public, context matters. Epstein's death in custody in 2019 had already eroded trust in the system. Every procedural move since then has been examined under a magnifying glass. A minimum security designation, often associated with nonviolent white-collar offenders, did not sit comfortably with many observers. Even if legally justified, optics became powerful. The transition marked the beginning of a new phase, not of the legal case, but of public interpretation. And interpretation, once activated, rarely slows down.
Soon after her relocation, reports began to circulate describing her daily life in unexpectedly calm terms. Allegations surfaced suggesting she had access to privileges not typically associated with the image of incarceration many held in their minds. Claims of separate showers, structured visitation procedures, or limited interaction policies began appearing in articles and online discussions. None of these claims were officially confirmed as extraordinary, yet their repetition gave them weight. The idea that someone at the center of such a scandal might be experiencing a comparatively stable prison routine triggered outrage. For critics, it symbolized imbalance. For supporters, it reflected standard federal procedure. But outrage often travels faster than clarification. When millions of pages related to the broader Epstein investigation were released in waves, the public appetite for transparency intensified. Every new document reignited debate about who knew what and when. Against that backdrop, even small details about Maxwell's conditions became amplified. In high-profile cases, perception shapes narrative, and narrative shapes belief. The question was no longer just about her conviction. It became about whether the system was truly finished revealing what it knew or carefully containing what it preferred to keep quiet.
When Maxwell later appeared before lawmakers, many expected revelations. Instead, she invoked her Fifth Amendment right repeatedly. To legal observers, this was not surprising. She had appeals pending, including a habeas petition challenging aspects of her conviction. Attorneys commonly advise silence in such circumstances, but for the broader public, the optics felt different. Silence, especially in a case already layered with secrecy, can sound louder than speech. Even questions about well-documented associations were met with refusal to answer. From a strategic standpoint, that approach limits exposure. From a psychological standpoint, it fuels speculation. The Fifth Amendment exists to protect against self-incrimination. Yet in the court of public opinion, invoking it repeatedly can appear evasive. The gap between legal prudence and public expectation widened. People began asking whether the silence was purely defensive or whether it represented leverage. In cases intertwined with powerful names and institutions, every unanswered question feels like withheld information. The refusal to elaborate did not end curiosity, it deepened it. And in that quiet, the narrative shifted again, from what had been proven in court to what might still remain undisclosed. Political undertones intensified the speculation. Discussions emerged around the theoretical possibility of clemency or a presidential pardon, a power embedded in the U.S. Constitution. Maxwell's legal representatives suggested she would welcome relief, as any incarcerated person might. Former President Donald Trump acknowledged that the authority exists, but publicly stated he had not seriously considered it. Meanwhile, references to past social encounters between Epstein and high-profile political figures resurfaced in media cycles. None of this confirmed any arrangement, yet the combination of legal maneuvering and political history created fertile ground for theory. In polarized environments, narratives often split into opposing certainties. Some believed silence implied negotiation. Others argued it reflected nothing more than standard defense strategy. The louder the debate became, the more entrenched positions grew. For lawmakers critical of the idea, entertaining clemency would signal leniency toward a convicted trafficker. For supporters of broader disclosure, it represented a potential path to new testimony. The intersection of criminal justice and political power has always been volatile. In this case, it amplified every rumor. Because once politics enters a scandal of this magnitude, perception becomes inseparable from ideology. Amid speculation, the voices of survivors remained central. Virginia Giuffre publicly described her experiences, portraying Maxwell not as a passive associate, but as an active participant. Her testimony during trial proceedings helped secure the conviction. For survivors, the focus was never about facility conditions or political hypotheticals. It was about accountability and acknowledgement. The emotional weight of those statements shaped public memory of the case more than procedural details ever could. Survivors described patterns of recruitment, manipulation, and control. They spoke about lost years and lasting trauma. In that context, discussions about prison amenities felt secondary, even trivial. The central issue remained harm and responsibility. And yet, as time passed, media cycles drifted back toward speculation rather than testimony. That shift created tension between two parallel narratives, one grounded in courtroom evidence and lived experience, the other driven by unanswered questions about networks and power. The survivors' accounts anchored the story in reality. They reminded audiences that beneath the politics and rumors were individuals whose lives had been permanently altered. That grounding matters, because without it, the case risks becoming abstract, reduced to theory rather than consequence. As often happens in high-profile cases, internet speculation eventually expanded beyond policy and politics. Online discussions dissected photographs, deposition footage, and physical appearance. Some questioned whether subtle changes in facial features indicated cosmetic alteration or even impersonation. These claims gained traction not because of verified evidence, but because uncertainty already existed. When trust in institutions weakens, even minor inconsistencies can appear meaningful. Aging, stress, lighting differences, and weight fluctuations can alter appearance significantly. Yet once a theory begins circulating, confirmation bias reinforces it. The idea of a body double or manipulated image reflects a deeper cultural pattern, an instinct to assume that powerful systems operate with hidden layers. In reality, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. None has been substantiated, but the persistence of such theories reveals something important about the public mood. This is not merely about one individual, it is about confidence in transparency. When official information arrives slowly or incompletely, imagination fills the silence. And in the digital era, imagination spreads at remarkable speed. Years after Epstein's death and Maxwell's conviction, the broader question remains unresolved in the public mind. Was this the exposure of two individuals acting in isolation, or a glimpse into a larger structure that has yet to be fully illuminated? Document releases have answered some questions while raising others. Silence has protected legal rights while fueling suspicion. Political commentary has blurred the line between fact and inference. Survivors have sought closure, while observers demand deeper disclosure. The result is a case that refuses to settle into history. It lingers because it touches power, secrecy, and institutional trust. If there were nothing more to uncover, many argue clarity would feel complete. Yet clarity rarely arrives all at once. It emerges gradually through documentation, testimony, and time. For now, Maxwell remains incarcerated, serving a federal sentence. The legal process continues in appeals courts. Public debate continues online and in political arenas. And the answered questions about networks, influence, and silence remain suspended in the background. Sometimes the most enduring mysteries are not defined by what is known, but by what people believe has not yet been revealed.